Welcome to Onchain Gaming. I am your host, Erica. I do this every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I talk to everybody in the blockchain ecosystem, games, guilds, marketplaces, you name it. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to everybody. So tonight we have, as you can already see, but we have Uldor on stage, and Chris is behind the account. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
Hey, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. It is a crazy time in crypto and blockchain.
Yeah, I know. We can definitely touch on that a little bit later, definitely, because it's like, how can you not, right? It's at like the forefront of everything right now. I mean, and definitely, I'm sure affects games too, and the people who play games and everything like that. So yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. But yeah, you guys, just if you've been here before, like, thank you for coming back. I see a lot of the same faces, so I definitely appreciate your support. If it's your first time listening, thank you for coming. Pleasure to have you. And just remember that, of course, none of this is financial advice. Always do your own research. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. LFG. So Chris, do you want to just go ahead and warm the room up a little bit? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is at Uldor.
Absolutely. And so, I'm Chris. You may know me as Graslow. I'm also in here as my Graslow account if you want to give me a follow or just see a little bit about who I am. I have been in the crypto space for years, but I'm a passionate gamer. I've worked in some game development projects, and I've been a consultant for the last 15 or so years, helping businesses solve problems. And I got into the Web3 space last year, helping a couple of NFT projects with either development or like marketing and community building. And when I started to, I was into crypto for years, but I was kind of slow to NFTs. It seemed kind of crazy to me. Like, what are these pictures people are buying? I just don't get it. Like, once I got into it, I really started collecting everything, started minting all sorts of projects. And it really just clicked to me the value of NFT technology, because it enables that it enables you to value digital assets in a way that we've never been able to do. And that immediately clicked to me about gaming. And because as a passionate gamer, and MMORPGs have always been the go-to genre for me, they're all about the economy. When you get into an MMO, they have a large, intricate economy. And there is so much of a need of transparency and value of those digital assets because that doesn't exist. But yeah, so I started building Uldor, which is actually a passion project that goes back years. I registered Uldor.com back in 2011, so more than 10 years ago. It's kind of a meme in the game development world. Every game developer wants to make an MMORPG, but it's the most ambitious project. A lot of people start and never finish, or don't get the resources or talent needed. So last year we started putting together a team, hiring game developers, putting together the whole project. And really taking advantage of the Web3 disruption that we predict will happen. And so we've got some talented game developers, and we've been, working out all the mechanics, and some of it goes back years, because this is a project that I've been wanting to build for many years. And so we started building Uldor, which is a Web3 MMORPG, like you mentioned, being developed in UE5. It's going to have a vast open world to explore, where you have deep lore that will immerse yourself in the world, a PvP arena where players can fight head-to-head and compete in tournaments against each other, and then faction PvP combat in the world where players can go join a faction and then coordinate with other players to either attack or defend fortifications to capture territory. So this is a little bit about the game, what we're building, and we're very much building in like the spirit of Web3. We're very transparent. We share a lot of updates, and we're actually a few weeks away from releasing a pre-alpha version that players can try out the game, experience the movement fighting system, and it's a fun little replayable game mode that we'll be releasing. And it's not going to be token gated because we really want gamers to be able to try it out without paying for anything. And then we'll sell them on the vision of the game that we want to build. And then they can, join our community, kind of engage with us. And, if they want to purchase NFTs, they can. But otherwise, we want to build an amazing game that onboards millions of players.
Oh, awesome. I love it. Yeah, I actually, oh, by the way, if you want to pin anything to the top regarding the pre-alpha version that you have, or just any like notable tweets, feel free to go ahead, and I'll try to do the same thing too. Alex, if you want to as well, feel free. So yeah, I just saw that you guys are going to be releasing the pre-alpha version. And that was one of the questions that I had for you. I was like, when am I going to be able to play? Which I know is like everybody, right? But I saw that and I was super, super excited because, obviously the reason why you're here is because I saw your game and I like see the potential in it. And I think that it just, it looks like a really solid project. And yeah, I want to play it. My favorite type of game is also an MMORPG. Like I've always just, well, not always. That's not the game that I first started playing. I didn't actually discover my first MMORPG until kind of around the time that World of Warcraft came out. There's this game. It's called Guild Wars. There's Guild Wars 1 and now there's Guild Wars 2. But Guild Wars 1 was my first MMORPG. And that's when I really found that genre and just really fell in love with it. And you're right. It is probably the most ambitious type of game because you've got it all, right? You've got PvP, you've got PvE, you've got lore, you've got questing, you've got battles, like you said, factions. And so it is so ambitious. But yeah, I'm excited that your passion project lives on and that you are actually, starting to develop it. Like you said, that's really exciting. So, sorry, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. I'm a little bit sick right now. And so I've been on NyQuil and DayQuil off and on. And so if I'm if I'm a little bit loopier than normal, that's probably why. But yeah, besides that. So yeah, I saw that you're building it in Unreal Engine 5. And so that's always amazing because obviously, if you are one who is into graphics, right? Unreal Engine 5, you really can't beat it. And then it's also just for everybody who wants a little bit more of what the game is built on. It's built on Ethereum. You guys are using Immutable X as your layer 2, which is fabulous. I love Immutable 2. I love what they're doing. I love what they're doing with GameStop as well. They've got some really good games on there. So thumbs up there. And then, yeah, so one of the things about Unreal Engine 5 is that it hasn't been out that long. So you said that you guys just started developing the game last year. Was that kind of when Unreal Engine 5 came out, or was it started on 4?
Yeah, and we had perfect timing there. We were very fortunate. So when we started development, we started putting our team together, UE5 was just getting ready to release in an early access that was limited. You had to apply for it. And so we applied right away and we got in on the early access for it. And that was still at the time where people game developers were skeptical about a lot of Unreal Engine's claims because it was wild. So Epic Games, the makers of Unreal Engine, they put out some videos with some stuff that's coming, Nanite and Lumen. If anybody wants to go look up the technology, and a lot of game developers who have been using Unreal for years or Unity, they said this is false. They're lying. This is not possible. And it was wild to see that because there was this big rift in game development. And then Unreal released their early alpha and people got to actually use it and they were just blown away. And the main thing, the crazy technology improvements that we saw were the scalability. Because of Nanite and Lumen, and because of the metahuman characters, which are these like hyper realistic avatars that you've seen, and also the improvements to like procedural generation. Basically, you can build a AAA looking game with an indie studio in much less time, much smaller team, and be able to accomplish amazing things. And so, it's really it's going to kind of revolutionize gaming in a lot of ways, and also filmmaking. Unreal Engine is increasingly creeping into films and TV. Like The Mandalorian. All the backgrounds and sets are largely done in Unreal Engine. I follow a lot of like film developers, and they're increasingly using Unreal Engine and 3D assets for just props and things in the background of their videos because of the realism, and because you can do this on set. And it can be, it doesn't have to be something where you shoot the actors and then 6 months later some animator adds in a scene. You can actually see what it's going to look like the day you shoot it, and that really helps you. When you're convincing your actors, like how to act and where to look and what something's supposed to look like. If you can actually show them a take, like you film them and then you show them in the scene. But yeah, so we were really fortunate to get in early on Unreal Engine 5, and we've been it's still early. Like, even though it's officially released now, there are some bugs and kinks that you have to work through. If you were building in UE4 and you migrated over to UE5, like there's still a little transition there. There's some things that don't necessarily work as well. But for the most part, the things that are really hard in UE4, like the scaling a large open world, that is much easier in UE5.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you for that insight. I'm obviously like not a game dev, and so I don't know like all those little, behind the scenes things. So that is really, really interesting. I'm glad that it just kind of happened to come around at the perfect time for you, so that way you could really embrace Unreal Engine 5 and use that to develop your game. And as far as like the plugins go for it, I didn't know this, but I have an Epic Games account, and I opened the app and I was like looking around in it, and they give you plugins for Unreal Engine 5. Like, you can download free packs. And so they had like a Halloween pack, and then they had some other things. And like, normally they're like, anywhere from like 25 to like $150, $250. But I was like, oh, this is so badass. Like, if you want to play around with it, you definitely can. I mean, I don't know how far I'd get, but still the fact that it's there and you can use all of these pre-made assets like that, that's pretty cool. So it's nice to know that's in, it's going to be in movies and everything too. That's awesome. I love that.
I'll just jump in there too. So Epic Games has made Unreal Engine really inviting for game developers and those just wanting to try it. You can download Unreal Engine for free. There are a lot of assets on the marketplace that are free that you can work with, and Epic Games releases their own content. Like, they have some NFT projects get in trouble for this because they just download like an existing game that Epic has made, and then they just reskin it with their own assets. But they have like a shooter called Lyra Game, and you can download that from Epic. It's a free game, and it's basically a template. You can go in and edit it and make it your own game. And they've got the city demo that they you probably saw in the Matrix demo. It was kind of a game, but it was something that you could play on, I think, Xbox, and there were videos around. But it's this city with all the like Matrix characters kind of walking around the world, but you can download that and then go and start making it your own. It's very easy for a developer to get started. But like you said, you may not get very far without like really spending a lot of time to study and learn what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did see that city demo, and I was like about to press download on it, but I was like, Erica, you have so many other things that you need to be doing right now. And so it's on my like never ending 100-page things that I want to do. So yeah, it's on there. Someday I'll get to mess around with it, but not right now. It's all right though. It's all good. And let's see here. So you guys have, just for anybody who is interested, you guys do have a fully doxed team. I know that is very important to some people. So if you are interested in checking out the team behind this game, it's everything is on their website along with the socials and everything like that. So feel free to check that out. And I saw that you guys also, I think fairly recently partnered with Elixir Game Launcher too. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So in the last month, we've partnered with Immutable X and Elixir Game Launcher, and those are two powerful partners to have. I'm sure you know Elixir, but they are really growing quickly and becoming a really important asset for the space, because you can go launch your game there, which is not only great for gamers, but it's a safe way for content creators to kind of go try your game out, not rely on random links in their DMs that can get them in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think more and more it's people are going to go to marketplaces, just because I mean even in like the content creator group that I'm in, we're like, "Oh, here's another scam." Like of course the game looks amazing, and then people are downloading things and then getting whatever the hackers can get their hands on stolen. So obviously protection and security is number 1, and so the more trusted sources we have to download games, the better. So that's great. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Elixir. Was talking with them, or not with them, but about them today, and about how I personally feel like they're going to be right up there with the ranks of like Fractal and Magic Eden. So yeah, I'm a big fan of them and what they're doing. So absolutely. And let's see, let's talk about the game though. Let's talk about like more about the ins, excuse me, all of the ins of Uldor. So with any MMORPG and any like RPG, you've got a story and you've got a base. So I went ahead and I checked out your white paper, of course, and I read the lore and I read the story behind what Uldor is and where your character might come into play in the game. It's a pretty quick read for anybody who is interested, but essentially I'm going to butcher this a little bit, of course, because I don't have it memorized, and I apologize. You can correct me. But just like the very short version is that there is an emperor who is aging, and so he obviously wants to live forever, but he can't. There's an artifact that he gets, but he can't like translate anything, right? And so he I don't know if who he got to translate it, but somehow like you're probably cringing. I'm so sorry. Um, in order to translate it, he got some of his crew, and then like these dark forces came and they basically ruined this whole entire city, and everything became fractionalized. And so with that, people were pretty much like fending for themselves, right? Like they didn't trust the new emperor who came in, who's actually the old emperor's brother. Kind of like a novella here a little bit, but not really. But so anyway, like they didn't trust this new emperor, and so they basically formed their own militia, and so now it's like the militia against the new emperor. Okay, how did I do?
I'm glad this was recorded, because we're going to put that as the trailer. That's the audio for the trailer. Thank you very much. No, seriously. Yeah. I mean, that was a good explanation. But basically, our world, we have an empire that's ruled for the last 1,000 years, and where the players come in is we've had this event happen where the emperor, in this quest for kind of like extending his legacy and making sure that the empire and his legacy kind of live on forever. He got this book. He through the assistance of his like cult here, he was able to translate this, and it kind of turned him evil, which caused him to be kind of expelled from the empire, and has caused this kind of rift. So we have our factions that are now breaking away. They had their own politics, but at the end of the day, like the empire was really being held together by the emperor and the trust. And now that that's all kind of broken, it gives opportunity for politics. So you've got the other factions breaking away, and so the players can choose to join the empire and try to rebuild what has worked for 1,000 years, or you can join one of these factions who are fighting for their independence and their historical independence that they had before joining the empire. And so these are three somewhat equal factions with their own kind of unique. Like one of them is a more island faction, and so they have ships and they're much more like able to like get around by sea. And then you've got one that's more desert and I guess more hardy because they can endure those like sandstorms and different conditions. And then of course you've got the empire, the capital, which has kind of benefited from being the top dog for so long, but they're in the mountain areas, and they're all going to compete in the open world for territory. And as players capture territory, they'll unlock different experiences and rewards. It might unlock a dungeon for your faction if you capture this certain area and hold it and build up defenses. The idea of our faction zones are to be really dynamic, to make the world something that players can shape, and also something that you can really get behind your faction. And it'll be something that you want to coordinate defenses and coordinate attacks and really kind of find opportunities to take advantage. Maybe a certain time of day or just being able to like all contribute resources to do a certain attack on a certain day to be able to seize more territory. So I think the factions, I love the lore, but I think once players get in and like join a faction, they'll really start to feel a part of it. And we really wanted players to kind of have those choices and have some politics in there as well.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I love that. I love being part of a faction, and I actually have a guild for another game, and so I'm all about it. I love the fact that you can join a faction, and one thing that I really love about this game is that it's open world, and then with your faction, you can actually take over land. Like you can gain control of land, right? And if you do that, your faction can actually contribute resources so that way you can build up your, what would you call it in this game? Is it going to be like a castle, or what are the buildings going to be called?
So we're calling them fortifications
Okay.
because they're upgradable. It'll start as something very, wooden and minor, and then you can kind of build it up to be this big stone fortress. But yeah, so we call them fortifications, and the stronger you upgrade it, the more defended your territory is. So that comes with more troops, so NPCs that will kind of patrol the area, guard the fortifications. It'll give benefit and ease for players to be able to come and spawn at these areas, but also it'll affect the area around it. So like once you've captured territory and built up defenses to a certain point, that's when it starts unlocking content because NPCs see it as a safe area to start building, and so they might build a shop and a little town. And that unlocks, a dungeon, and maybe for shops, since we have crafting, there may be some, rare crafting materials that are only available if your faction has this territory. So that'll be a fun way to, kind of reward and incentivize players to contribute to their factions.
Ooh, that is so cool. I love that. I love that the NPCs have a mind of their own and they start building their own things. That's so cool. Yeah, that's really innovative. I absolutely love that. Hey, you guys, by the way, so we're about halfway through, but we're talking with Uldor about their MMORPG game. So with that, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, I'll start letting people up in, kind of like a little bit towards the end for any questions or comments or anything like that that you have. So definitely feel free to request, and then we'll go ahead and bring some people up in just a little bit here once we get through a few things. So there is that. Okay, so with the world, there obviously like has to be characters. So I saw that you guys recently released some NFTs. You had an NFT mint for the Guardians and the Furies. So can you talk a little bit about your NFT mint and what those NFTs mean and what their role is in the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said Furies, because we've had some, that goes back a while, but that can be translated something else. People think they're furries, which is not what they are. They're Furies.
Right.
But yes. So we have two hero characters. And those are Guardians and Furies, and they have roles in the lore. So, they're both trained warriors that fall for the Empire. But due to the political stuff we talked about earlier, they were basically like let go. They were removed of their roles. So they're kind of free agents. They can do what they want. Now, this was used for our Genesis sale. And we will use our hero class characters in the game. You'll be able to play with them, but the game will be free to play, so players can just create a character if they want. But the hero class characters will have special in-game utility and benefits. One example of that is you'll have certain bosses that come out just for the hero class characters. So, like if you're if you played an MMO, then you're familiar with like dungeons. So when you go into a dungeon and you're in a group, if your group has a Guardian or Fury, you'll have a special boss that comes out that will have unique loot. And so that's something that rewards not only the owner of the NFT, but also anyone that groups up with that owner. So that not only adds the benefit of this special loot that you have access to, but it also makes it more appealing for you to be in a group. So people will want to group up with you. And there's also other rewards that you'll have in the game. In the faction battles, you'll have a similar opportunity for unique bosses. We'll also introduce areas and content quicker to our hero class characters. The idea is that they won't have the grind that the free-to-play players have. But, I'm sure there'll be many people that own our hero class characters that do want to go through and experience all of that content. And we want to reward, the exploration, discovering each area, fighting each boss, going through each dungeon. So that's definitely something that we think will be really fun. But where we can, we want to reduce the grind and make that an experience where you feel like you have kind of a fast pass or at least like special access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's like one of the things that I really enjoy, actually. I mean, I don't want to grind for like a month to go up one level, obviously, but I don't mind like a little bit of grind to build my character up and to level and to like explore the world and gather resources and completely get sidetracked from the main quest and have like 50 quests in my quest log that I need to do before I do the main quest again. So yeah, I'm all about leveling. So I do appreciate that because I was like, well, if somebody does get one of the hero classes and then they can't level up like that, that kind of ruins a little bit of the fun of it. But now I understand that if you have you'll be offering like basically no paywall in order to get into the game so they can still level, right? And then I'm sure they can play their hero with their clan when you're doing a dungeon or whatever that case may be. So that's good to know that they'll unleash some beasts that normal players won't get. So if everybody who has a hero could just friend me, that'd be great. And no, but I did see that the mint is closed now. So does that mean that the chance to get a hero is gone forever?
So we closed our phase one of our Genesis sale. We may open it again in the future. Like we hope to have millions of players, and so to have 10,000 Guardians and 10,000 Furies, we think will be a small number, and you won't see these characters in the game all the time. So that's something we would love to release over time, but we definitely want to be fair to our early community. We want to make sure that they are recognized, and so we decided to close our mint and give them special rewards. So like we're giving them a soulbound companion pet. So that'll be something that they just the those that have minted in phase one get, and that'll be a pet that you can use in the game. But it also upgrades your character's art. If you've seen our Guardians and Furies on OpenSea, they have like a comic book style cover, because this was before we had any 3D assets. We were still early in development, and we hired a comic book illustrator to do our art, and we really love how it turned out. But it lets every character be on like their own comic style cover. They have their own character name, and so the pets will add to that. And there's also some other benefits for these hero class characters, some token rewards. They'll get some free NFTs. So, we definitely want to make sure that they see the value of having these characters. But long term, we want the game to be very easy to play and to have no friction. So, we don't think that NFTs should necessarily like gate content. And that's something that we think onboarding will be very important, and you want it to not be pay to win as well, so that players that choose the free path feel like the game is fair for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because pay to win, man, I played games where this game that I played, it was called Aeon. It was really really fun, but damn, like people pay to win so much, and I would just get my butt kicked so bad in PvE because I couldn't, like, like some players, they spend like thousands and thousands of dollars on their skins and everything, and I'm like, dude, like I am never gonna get there. Like I couldn't afford it, and then I couldn't spend like hours and hours and hours like grinding and running like the same dungeon 10 times a day to like maybe get like a 1% drop, and then of that, the 5 people that I'm running the dungeon with will like just give it to me. So yeah. Yeah, pay to win is it can be kind of tricky for sure. But I'm gonna go ahead and let up MKX. That is Michael. Let me go ahead and let him up, and let's see what questions he has for you.
Hello, and I have a question.
Hi, Michael. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. I'm Michael. We also build an MMORPG game using kind of more authentic graphics. It's like a pixel art. But I would love to ask questions to fellow MMORPG builder. Just like I have kind of confusion in my head. What you said basically recently was we don't want token gated content and we don't want pay to win. But 5 minutes later, before, you said we want to only give like so special bosses to people who have our NFTs, and also those guys will not have to grind, which like automatically means that this is pay to win. Clearly.
Yeah, so thank you for the question, and love talking to fellow builders. So I would say, to clarify, the first, like the last point you made about the pay to win. So skipping grind is not pay to win in my opinion. I think like the pay to win is usually when you're playing a game and you feel like that someone can pay to have an unfair advantage. And I guess that's very vague. Let's say it's not a fair playing field, like when 2 players are fighting each other, or when you're both competing against a boss and one player has an advantage because they paid for something that you chose not to do, and that thing is not available to you. So I think that's when it starts to feel like pay to win. And so I think like skipping grind is not necessarily pay to win. I think that that's a mechanic that a lot of free to play games utilize. The downside is that, and this is something that a lot of game developers, especially in the Web3 space, are going to have to figure out. But in the free to play space, it's a balance of trying to not add grind unnecessarily to where you're punishing free players just to give a reward to someone who pays, because we see that a lot as well. So that's definitely a balance. And then to the other part of the question, so we think that having a hero class character can unlock content faster, or it can unlock content as long as it is something that's not just exclusive to them. So like we think that when you're grouped up with a hero class character and you have this unique experience that is there because of them, I don't think that's pay to win.
No, this is token-gated content. The question was like token-gated content, and you said we don't have token-gated content, and now you're saying some content will be only available to heroes in our game, which is a contradiction.
Well, I think I said I don't believe in like a token gated game, or at least that was my intention. But yeah, I mean, I do think that you want a free path to everything. So definitely, there should be a free path, and players can join a group, and if they group up with a hero class character, they can get the same loot as anybody else. So there is that free path. They don't have to buy anything. It's an opportunity for every player. I mean, I definitely agree that that's something that games have to be very careful about, and that's a subject that it gets a lot of debate, but it's very tricky, and you can get in the weeds on it. There's a lot of games in different genres where pay to win is just accepted. That is how things work, and then there's other games where pay to win means totally different things. Of course.
I have a question right here, if you may. You just said if players will team up with heroes, then they will get a loot as everybody else. But everybody else will not get the same loot if they wouldn't team up with hero. I don't understand what you mean.
Yeah, so if you I'm sure you've played MMOs. You're developing one. If you group up with other players, you go into the same dungeon. When you defeat a boss, usually there is loot that either you share or you can roll on or split. So the way we're designing that particular mechanic, when you're grouped up with a hero class character, you'll have a certain boss that comes out during that experience that'll drop loot that's available to the players that are in that party. So it's not just for the player who owns the NFT. It also benefits those that are grouped up with them.
This is still pay to win for me, and this is, I believe, a thing that ruined the MMORPG genre, because a lot of games just lose retention in the long run, specifically because they acquired this pay to win model. But if you believe this is the way to go, then we would from our side, we just love to see how it goes. Another question I would have is what is token utilities in the game?
I'm sorry, did you say what are token utilities in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we believe NFTs can be used for basically unlocking enhanced player ownership. And then, of course, with that, the verifiable scarcity, on-chain transfer.
I mean, currency, not NFTs, but token, currency token.
Okay. So, what is the utility of the token? So, the token is used for buying, game items from other players. The token is used in contributing resources to your faction and crafting. If you purchase crafting materials, basically it's the currency of the world. So, if you think about, a currency of an MMO, that would be the utility of the token.
I see. And everybody can, it's a token, so I can go and buy it on any exchange, basically, right?
Well, so we're on Immutable. We'll definitely have, on-ramp and off-ramp for tokens.
I got you. So, if I can buy a token on, for fiat, and I can buy resources with this token, which means I can buy anything and get things done faster for my faction. How is this not pay to win?
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, so pay to win, that's something that the Web3 space is definitely going to have to define for itself, because in different genres, pay to win means different things. Obviously, in like a TCG, everything's pay to win. In a TCG, like a physical card game, you can go buy the cards that you want to make your deck better or play how you want it to play. In different genres, it means different things. Mm-hmm. To me, Web3 is going to unlock player ownership. And, we've had some pushback from some gamers who think that players shouldn't be able to own their assets because that makes it unfair. I disagree, and I do think that that's something that as a space we're going to have to figure that out. I think that players want to own their assets, and the only way to prevent players from being able to purchase certain things or use certain things that they bought NFTs for or tokens for is to basically have the traditional model of the control, to where you don't allow players to exchange things, like soulbound tokens or things like that, and that starts to make you question what was the value of Web3 for those particular games. But this is something that, it hasn't been done before. We are watching the space closely. We're obviously watching games like Illuvium that are, ahead of us in development, to see how they onboard gamers, how gamers react to certain things. Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in player ownership, and I believe that players will define an economy. And I think that we'll kind of redefine what play to win means, but it is important for game developers to have a free path to where players can jump in a game, they can play the game, they don't feel like everything is a paywall, that they have to buy this NFT to do anything. But I do think that, if someone comes in and they want to drop $5,000 on a game, they're going to have a better time. I mean, that happens in almost any game. But definitely in certain genres, we think about it differently, and some games do it very poorly to where it seems like if you don't pay, you can't have a good time, that it's not a fun game. Mm. But that's all something that I think that nobody has a perfect answer for.
Are you making a game for Web3 users or for general gaming audience?
So this is a game for gamers. Like we're passionate gamers. I myself love the MMORPG genre. I think that it has failed to innovate for over a decade, which is why the population of MMOs has steadily declined. While we see more and more MMOs released, we see the overall population decline. And Web3 is a huge innovation for MMO genre in general, but there are other innovations as well, which I could talk more about. But I think that Web3 will definitely help revitalize the genre because it gives players the control of their assets that they craft in the game, that they find in the game. And, if they want to, nobody's saying that an item should be worth a certain thing. That's up to the market. That's up to players.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for your questions. Appreciate you coming up. One thing that I was curious about, Chris and Michael, is so like kind of like behind the scenes, for content creators, like we have content creator groups, like where we can like, discuss ideas and like what is working and what is not, and like, some new things that are coming out or whatever the case may be. So like we're, you might be kind of surprised, but it's like actually like pretty friendly, right? There's a lot of us, and in like different groups and whatnot. So is there something similar for people who are developing games? Like, do you guys have like a secret community or Discord where you guys can discuss things that are going on in the gaming world and like throw around ideas, or is that not so common?
Yeah, sorry, I'll jump in first. There are a number of groups. I'm in the Fair Play Collective, which is a very tight knit group of game developers and builders focused on Web3 gaming, and they have these core principles about community, tokenomics, transparency. So it's great we have weekly meetings where we talk about, things we've learned, look at, what other projects are doing. We, talk about the whole process. And so that's invaluable to us. Of course, we're also members of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which is a much larger group, but it has, bigger players in the space. And there's a lot of thought leaders there, legal experts, people doing a lot of different things. So yeah, those groups are very valuable. And I'm also in privately, some NFT founder and builder communities, like the Hype Cartel, if anybody's familiar with that, which is building a network of Web3 builders and focused on, fairness and transparency. And so, I think I love networking with others to get other opinions and thoughts as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that you guys have a resource, because I know I kind of feel at home with my little group too. I'm I know that I can go into the Discord and just kind of, hey guys, I made this, take a look at it. And, and it's appreciated. And so, yeah, that's good. I like that. One thing, let's see here. I don't want to really get into tokenomics a whole lot unless you want to. It's just not really my forte. So, if you want to speak on that, you definitely can. I'm more of on the gameplay and kind of what that looks like. So as far as the world that you're building and the trailers that I've seen so far, can you describe some of the world, what it will kind of be like? Is it going to be a dynamic world? What are some of the environments that you plan on building for your players?
Yeah, and so we're building a vast world there is some dynamic elements. The areas will stay similar, but there are seasons. So, you'll go through an area and it's, summer, and then, you come back later and it's winter. So you may see some different enemies there, different, NPC behavior. So there's definitely some dynamic elements there. We also have a weather system. So, you may come through and it's raining or storming, or there's a blizzard or a sandstorm. So those are some fun elements as well to really kind of make the environment feel unique and different each time you go. But the landmarks will still be there. So, if you've been through an area, maybe you went through and fought some bosses or discovered something or went to a little town, when you come back later, it's going to feel similar, but, also different depending on the time that you come back. And then, of course, we have night and day, so the day and night transitions throughout the day. But yeah, and we have a lot of different environments, and really excited for players to be able to explore. One thing we're doing is still kind of testing the limits of UE5 as to how big the world can get. But part of the thing we're doing is we're building the game to scale up. So we are building of course, our PvP arena, but in the persistent world, we're building the faction areas first, and then we're going to scale out to the larger cities and start building out more content and cities and exploration and dungeons to where we can continue to expand until we kind of reach the limit of where we can go with the engine. But yeah, I can't wait to run around. I mean, we have some demos and tests that we can go in and play, but I can't wait to run around with a bunch of other players and really experience the environments.
Yeah, I mean, that's what MMORPG is all about, right? Getting in and immersing yourself in an environment and playing with your friends. That's the best part. Anybody who hasn't experienced that, definitely, I'll take you under my wing, and we'll go, we'll go run around and create some havoc in in a game. I don't know which one yet, but we'll go into one of them. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I did read in your white paper. That's kind of why I asked you that, is because of the day and night cycle. I love that. If you're going to be building it in Unreal, it has to be like unreal, right? Like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like the day and the night cycles and the seasons. I absolutely love that, and the fact that if you're like running through a rainforest and there's like water on the ground, you can hear the little foot splashes. And when you're walking through the snow, you can hear the snow crunch. I absolutely love things like that and details. And so I'm hoping that your game has some of those. Um, in regards to the pre-alpha version, I'm sure that there are people listening who are going to want more information on how they can get in on that action. So can you go ahead and share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the pre-alpha mode is going to be a wave-based single-player mode in one of our arenas. You can fight against waves of enemies, and it's going to be competitive. The first iteration is going to be just really like play testing. We want to get it out there for content creators and for gamers to be able to try it, give us feedback. We'll be collecting any kind of like bugs or problems that people run into. And then we're going to add in some more competitive elements with leaderboards and some rewards for playing. And so we're really excited for that. And then we can, use that to really continue building the arena, because that's what the setting is our arena, where players are going to be able to fight other players. But yeah, if you want to follow that, you can just follow us on Twitter. We'll be putting the word out soon. Or you can go to Elixir Game Launcher. If you've played like Undead Blocks or something like that, Elixir Game Launcher has a number of Web3 games already. And we are listed there. There's nothing to download yet, but there will be soon. And we're thinking, we don't have a firm date yet, but I mean, it's soon. So a couple of weeks, hopefully we will have that out. We're doing some final polish, and we're also upgrading the UI a bit. And if, game developers will know, UI is something that evolves over time, and really you won't get the like final version of your UI until all the elements are in place and it's near, the end of your game. But it's something we definitely want to polish a bit. And so we're putting out a new version of the UI with this mode. But really excited to just get in the hands of players, let them play it. And I'll say, so I like to call the game a cross between, I kind of call it like a Souls-like MMO. But it's really its own thing. Like it's a game that, like I've always wanted to make this game, but it's a MMO that rewards players for overcoming like really difficult challenges. But if you've played like Elden Ring or Dark Souls, it's like that, but with a cross of World of Warcraft, which was a MMO that I spent way too many years in. I'm excited for people to play and give us their feedback on combat, movement, the graphics. Really excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw that you guys have Spike on board as one of your content creators, and Spike is amazing. He is, he's one of like the streamers and esports people who is like really like let me into their community with like, just, hey, come in, like join our Discord. He's just so welcoming, but he's like a really good gamer. And so it's great that you have him on. Definitely send him flowers. And they'll definitely let you know, for like your combat mechanics and stuff like that, if anything needs to be tweaked. So I'm excited to play it as well. I think that it's really, it's really good to be like, oh, I love your game and everything like that. But what you guys are really looking for is like constructive criticism, right? You really want to know, like, what do players think needs to be fixed? Like, is when you're walking along, like, does it work a little bit wonky, or your blade's just not hitting quite right? Things like that. So absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is everybody who kind of like tests the game and plays that first iteration of it, be honest with your feedback, because it definitely really helps the team out. So yes. And let's see, we kind of wrap up here. I'll let you, say anything like closing statement if you want to. But I was looking at your website and your roadmap. So you guys have like, Q4 PvP Arena 2022. That sounds like that's pretty much a go, and you're following your timeline there. And then in 2023, that's when we get into like the battle royale, which is cool. I'm sure that esports people are going to freak out over that. Faction combat, and then open world MMORPG in Q4. So good things take time. So everybody just remember that. And yeah, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to go over while we wrap up here?
No, but I did want to just mention. So you mentioned about the early playtesters, and yeah, that feedback is going to be invaluable to us. But I'd also just say, because this is something that we, I'm very transparent, and I believe in building in the open and letting players see and try things early. But with that comes the risk of players trying something and then saying, "Oh, this isn't fully finished," or "This isn't what I thought it was." I wanted an open world MMO, not a battle royale or another type of game mode. So I just say, if you like it at all, take a look at what we're building, because we're definitely not done. There's a lot more to come, but yeah, we're really excited about that. And I think building in the open is a better way to do it, because gamers regularly run into, you back a game on Kickstarter, or you get hyped about a game that you saw a teaser for, and then it takes 2, 3, 5 years before you can actually play it. I think releasing playable modes and letting players go ahead and try things and give feedback is a better experience for the community than having them hyped up about something and then having it just fade away over a long period of time. But yeah, I just did want to thank you for the opportunity. Love the space. Glad that you are an MMO player, because that really, talking to a gamer is something we love to do.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on and taking time out of your day. And I'm sure that this won't be the last time that we talk. So definitely looking forward to your pre-alpha version. And let me know updates that come along, any information, and then love to have you back on, closer to, or, at the end of like Q4 2023, when you've like really, really started to roll some things out and everything is super exciting. So love to, reminisce on when you didn't even have a pre-alpha version versus how far you guys will, have come along then. So thank you for that. Alex, did you have any questions or comments or anything before we wrap up?
No, solid explanation. I really love the artwork, and I really resonate with what you just said towards the end about when you're showing stuff. Sometimes users will. This is the thing about user experience. If you sometimes show people a product too early, they might steer it in a direction that maybe is unintended. So sometimes you got to also trust the devs with what they're making and the direction. But at the same time, like you said, like those gamers, there's a lot of great value and feedback that you can get from them just because of the nature of it. So I kind of really appreciate that, the building in the open, and just the artwork is sick. I mean, it speaks for itself. It's just oozing with like authenticity and just like sick ass art. So I can definitely get behind that. I mean, I've put my most played game is RuneScape. That was just my childhood. So, MMOs, anytime I see some MMOs and see some cool art, that automatically gets me excited. So I wish you all the best, and really excited to see the development.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Yeah, that Dread King looks pretty crazy. That's the one that's like on their website with the glowing eyes. He looks pretty badass. But well, thank you everybody for joining in for another episode of Onchain Gaming. I say this every time, but we do this every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please join us next week as I have another fabulous guest for you guys. This is powered by G Media. They give us a platform, so special shout out to G Media. Go ahead and follow them. Follow the Uldor account so that way you can stay up to date with everything that they have going on. And we are also powered by Unstoppable Domains and Expectar. You can go ahead and check out the main G Media page if you're interested in any of those two and more information. And everybody, stay safe out there. Not your keys, not your crypto. Get your crypto off these freaking exchanges and into a freaking hard wallet. I think Ledger even has like a 10% discount going on right now. Give yourself an early Christmas present and keep everything safe. I will talk to you guys next Thursday. Bye, you guys. Thank you for listening. See you later.